I found a really cool free solution that I've never really seen this on intranet sites before, but it's used on public websites all the time because it can be very powerful to get a message across. I'm going to show you how to use this thing. It's a free solution. It's using out of the box SharePoint, so no need to worry about custom code. Let's get into it. This new solution allows you to display a quote on your SharePoint page. Now, this is a really powerful way to get a message across, to get someone's attention, to get someone to think is often the best way to use these quotes, to get them to think about something, a powerful statement that a leader has made within the organization, that an industry leader has made outside of the organization, something along those lines. And it's all driven by list data. So the first thing we need to do is set up a list to house this data. Let's jump over to SharePoint and start setting this list up. So I'm going to go into Site Contents and click on New and just create a new blank list. I'll call this quotes. Definitely don't want it to show up in site navigation because we're going to be using a web part to surface this. There are some specific columns that we have to set up for this formatter to use. So they are all documented in the solution page for this. So there's a link in the description below to find that. But you're going to see me build all these out right now. You know, there's something I do want to point out. I've covered a lot of these JSON solutions in the past, and a friend of mine pointed out that while I am just using this for the purpose of creating a YouTube video to teach you how to do some of these things, it might give you the wrong impression about the correct way to do it in your environment. So I think from now on, I'm going to set this thing up for production use so that you're doing things the correct way, assuming you're following all of the steps that I'm doing in this video. So just to make sure that I'm doing things how you should do them in production, I'm going to start with the first thing you want to do after you create a list, and that is to create a content type. So let's go into list settings, and we're going to go to advanced settings. And right at the top of the page here, you'll see an option for allowing the management of content types. We want to do this because we want to have a content type that is that is something other than the default list content type. This is going to serve you in a number of different ways. And you could take this one step further. And instead of creating a content type on a site, you could create it in the content type gallery at the top level of SharePoint. In that case, every site could automatically have this content type available with all of the columns that we're defining here. So think about that. In this case, I just want this quote on this one site. So I'm just going to create it at the site level, but I still am going to create a content type because it does allow me a lot of extra benefits. I've made videos on that in the past. In fact, the first few videos I ever made on my channel were all about content types, and they are one of the most popular set of videos I've ever had. But right now, we're just going to go to the bottom and click on OK. And that's going to add another feature to this list. Well, technically, it's already there. It's just letting us customize it. Now, I'm going to go up to site settings, and I'm going to set up the content type that I will later add to this list. So let's go to site settings, and you will see site content types under the web designer galleries. And then we'll create a new content type. I'm going to call this, how about page quote? And we will allow, we could file this under different categories. You'll see some here. I'm just going to leave this under custom content types. And the parent type is going to be a list content type. And then we're going to be picking the item here. So the default item content type, lists all use the item content type generally. That definitely when you create one, it's all using the item content type. We're going to be creating a customized version of that already has our columns in place. So I'll click on create. And now we've got our content type just with the default title column. Now let's add in our custom types here. So I'll create a new site column. And this next one is going to be quote. And they do all need to be named this exact thing. There's a place where we could rename them later, but this first step is the most important part. We'll use the existing content columns or custom columns. And this is going to be a single line of text. So I'll just click save here. Add another site column. And this is going to be, the name's a little outdated, but that's fine. Again, people aren't going to necessarily even see this. We can change the display name later, but the name we give it first is going to be the internal column name. That's the thing you cannot change later. So we'll call this one is called Twitter handle, because this quote is going to have an option to link to a user's X handle or Twitter handle, whichever one you're calling it, Twitter or X, that's going to be their handle here. Now, this doesn't apply just to Twitter/X. This could be any social network. I'm going to show you some tricks like that later on in this video of how to make this really platform agnostic, so you can do whatever you'd like to do in here and not necessarily be tied to a particular social media platform or any social media platform at all. But right now, the solution is requiring this name. So Twitter handle, and that's going to be a single line of text. We could just keep all this the default. And we need one more column here. That's going to be called publisher. And that's going to be a personal or group column. And all we have to do is click save here. Now our content type is set up, and we can go back to our list and add this content type that we created at the site level down at the list level. One really good use case of doing something like this is if you wanted different sets of quotes to appear at the same time, because this web part's only going to show one quote. If you wanted different lists with different data, you would create this content type just like we've done here, and then you just add the same content type to both lists. It's double the value, or maybe even triple, depending on how many lists you create. But you only really have to do the work one time. So massive time savings there. Back into list settings, we'll go back into our quotes list and go into settings. Right back to this content type section that we turned on through the advanced settings on that list. And now we'll use the option add from existing content types, because we do have a content type now that we can add. We can change this to our custom content types, and we'll see our new quotes content type here. We click OK on this, and now we'll see the default content type item, and we'll see our new content type quote or page quote. Now, the last thing we want to do on here is we want to get rid of item. We want to make sure that all the items that are created on this list are using this custom content type so that they could use all of those custom columns. So for that, we will change the new button. We'll make sure that the position at the top here, for position from top, is page quote. We could even hide the item here. And now we're just showing page quote as the default here. You'll see that with the check mark all the way on the right side. I still take this one step further because I want to get rid of item altogether. Now, once item is not the default item based on that check mark that we looked at just a few seconds ago, once it's not the default, you'll see the ability to delete the content type, and it will let you do so. Now we're taken back into the list settings screen, and the only content type that is available for use is page quote. That means every list item we create on here will be a page quote. It'll have all of our columns set up we're good to go. So now that the list is created, it's configured, it's ready for use, let me add in a quote, and then we'll start to work on the rest of this. Okay, now we've got our quote in here. We're not really showing all the columns. Let's go ahead and just fix that right now. And that should be it. Okay, so we've got our quote all set up on here. Now what we need to do is we need to create a new view that we'll be customizing to display this, not just in a boring old way, but in a fun, meaningful way. So let's go to the All Items dropdown, and we're going to click on Save View As, and we'll give it a name. How about quote? Just something basic like this. So we've got our view created, and all we have to do is start configuring this with some JSON formatting, some basic JSON formatting to make this display in a very meaningful way. But first, something about JSON formatting, if you're unfamiliar. This is a very powerful way to display data in a much different way, a very visual way to spice things up, to provide some meaning, some insights into just the raw data itself. But how do you protect that raw data? That's another important question to bring up. And it also leads us into this video's sponsor. Today, many organizations rely on Microsoft 365 for everything from email, collaboration, conferencing, and calendars to documents, internal communications. Yet this critical data can be lost as easily as it's created. Threats like cyber attacks, retention gaps, or even a simple delete click can leave data inaccessible and cause costly downtime. Nakivo Backup and Replication seamlessly bridges this gap to ensure your Microsoft 365 data and Exchange Online, OneDrive for Business, SharePoint Online, and Microsoft Teams is backed up and easily recoverable. You can send Microsoft 365 backups and backup copies anywhere. Local folders, cloud platforms, NFS and SMB shares, tape media, and duplication appliances. The solution offers advanced ransomware protection features that include backup encryption and immutability. Microsoft 365 data loss does not need to happen. With Nakivo Backup and Replication, you can ensure maximum protection of Microsoft 365 data. Make sure to check out Nakivo and the link in the description below for a free 15-day trial. Now we're ready to load our JSON formatter in here. Don't worry, you don't have to write any code. This isn't even code. This is technically just data, but it's data that tells SharePoint how to present this list item so that we can change how it looks. It will actually look like a web part and not just a list item. It's a really cool trick. And so let's hop over to this page right here. There's a link in the description below. This is the page for this particular solution. It's called Person Quote Card, and it was created by Sudeep Ghatak, who has definitely made quite a few other JSON formatting samples. I know I've covered some of his work in the past. So thank you, Sudeep, for this. This was amazing. I'm having a lot of fun playing around with this. So you'll see some information about this. When it was created, it was actually created this year. You'll see the view requirements. These are those columns that you saw me set up at the content type level. Now, if you're just playing around with this for testing, you could just skip that and add these straight to the list, and it will still work just fine. It just won't be production ready. That's why you saw me go through the whole process of enabling the content type, setting it up and all that, is so that it would be more production ready and done according to best practices in SharePoint. Now, you'll see some screenshots on here as well, but to apply the formatting to the list, what you're going to want to do is go to the very top of here, and you'll see a JSON file here. We click on this, and you'll see the formatter itself. This is all the JSON code or JSON data that we need to copy. To copy it, you'll see on the top right corner, right next to this raw button, you'll see a copy icon. If we click on this, it's now copied into our clipboard. We go back to SharePoint, and we click on the down arrow for the quote view, and then click on Format Current View. This will pop open an option. You probably have seen it before that lets you do some basic, real simple things like conditional formatting or alternating row styles, things like that. And right at the bottom, you'll see advanced mode. This is how we get to the JSON, no matter if you're using one of these up here, the alternating or conditional formatting, or if you're using a custom solution like I've been presenting for more than a year now, I believe. It's been quite a while. But you'll see, we'll click on advanced mode. We can drag this window over a little bit so that you have a little bit of room to see what's going on. To apply this particular format, we're going to just highlight everything in here, hit delete on the keyboard, and then just paste in all of that code that we copied in. We don't really have to do anything else other than that. We can click on preview to see how it looks, but you definitely want to hit the save button so we save this formatter to the view, to that quotes view. Once it's saved, we can close this. This is how it's going to look. At this point, if you wanted to start tweaking things, you could by going back into the JSON. Again, I'll show you some other tricks you can do with this, but first, let's add this to a page. So let's go up to the landing homepage, go to edit mode, and I'll add this to, let's see, add this to this column. We're going to be adding a list web part because this is a list we're adding. And we'll select our quotes list. Then we want to hit the settings button because right now this definitely looks ugly. I'm not really a fan of adding just plain old text lists to a SharePoint page. It's just not a good experience. But we'll go to the settings icon, and here's how we're going to make it look good. We'll first change the view to quote. We can even hit apply on here, and you'll see it's starting to come together, right? Starting to come together. But we've still got a lot of other stuff to clean up. Let's hide the command bar. Let's hide the show see all button. And click on it now. Now this is looking pretty clean. Let's republish this and see how this thing looks. Well, it does look like I messed up on the data a little bit. We've got two @ signs. Let's actually just jump back to the list and clean that up. I'll delete that @ sign. We'll just have the handle itself without the @ part, and then take a look at how it looks. Okay, much, much better. That looks great. So we've got Adele Vance featured here, and we've got a link to, well, there's no X profile for her, but in a real scenario, you would link off to the social media platform. We've got her title and the quote itself. Now, there's a lot you can do with this. You can change around the formatting. You can make the quote very, very large. There's a lot of things that really get into more in-depth JSON formatting. Let's jump over to JSON. I'll show you a couple of the things that you can do with this. Go back to format current view back, and I think it'll take us automatically back into advanced mode because we've customized the JSON. Okay, so now our JSON has been loaded. So there's a few things that I want to point out that you can do. First, the really important thing to note is that in here, there are references to those column names. I mentioned the internal name, the one you can't change after you create it. That part has to be exact because this formatter is calling it out. Let me show you. You will see right here that Twitter handle. So that is referencing a specific internal column name called Twitter handle. Once we've created all this, we could go back to the list and we could change the name of Twitter handle to something else. That would just change the display name, but the internal name would still be Twitter handle. This solution would still work. So if you really wanted to tweak those types of things, you could. Another option is when you're creating your content type for production use, you would, if you wanted this to be a LinkedIn profile, to have it more work related and more work profile related, instead of using Twitter handle, you could have it say LinkedIn profile and create the column that way. The only thing you would want to do is when you're pasting in this JSON, you just want to update this part right here from Twitter handle to LinkedIn profile or whatever you call your column. You would, in this case of also using LinkedIn, here's the The other part of that hyperlink is the part that goes before the handle. You want that to be, instead of twitter.com, it would, well, in this case, it'd be x.com, or it'd be linkedin.com / I think it's in, whatever the prefix should be in front of the handle, the social media handle, you would just update that one here. Again, everything would still work. You just want to make sure that this is referencing your real columns and the real URLs to lead to the social media profiles that you're going to be adapting this to. Now, you may also say, Steve, I don't like this yellow background. That's fine. You could also change this. In fact, if we scroll up, you'll see two different, starting from the top, you'll see two different things. By the way, if this JSON code looks a little bit confusing or looks a little bit intimidating, and you're like, hey, Steve, I need a little bit more direction on what does this stuff actually mean? How do I create this from scratch? How do I start leveraging this in my own brand new creations? How do I start from scratch, build something beautiful? If that's you, I've got an online course that is perfect. It'll hold your hand through the entire process. Even if you don't know what JSON means, I cover that too. You'll come out of this course knowing how to start creating these things from scratch, how to modify every solution that I've been showing on this channel. You'll have samples that you can start with that I've given you as part of the course. You'll see a link in the description below if you're interested. But let's just keep going through this. And what this background color here is that's the gray background that you see below here. So it's more of the shadow effect, a little bit of that. Now, the other thing that you'll see here, if you don't like this background color, is right near the top, you will see this FFCC00. That's just the color hex code for the yellow that you're seeing here. And the yellow is used in a number of places, like the background or the font color for this button and retail manager. So you'll see this listed in a few different places. So if you wanted to change the yellow background, those are the different places you want to do this. But the large yellow background is actually located here. Again, you will see some other locations where it's also used here as a foreground color. So those are some really easy ways for you to start to tweak this to make it your own if you're not quite ready to jump in and learn all about JSON formatting and make any customization you want.